Are you interested in learning how to leverage social media for your business? Or how LBM dealers around the country are utilizing it? If so, this is your podcast. I'm Sally Lacey, the social media manager for LBM Journal. Let's get social. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the first ever episode of LBM Talks Social Media, LBM Journal's latest podcast in our network of podcasts. My name is Sally Lacey, and I am the social media manager for LBM Journal. So if you are not familiar with LBM Talks, our podcast, it is basically what I like to call kind of a network. So under the name LBM Talks, we're going to have different topics that we talk about. So our first segment that came out was LBM Talks Credit, and that is hosted by the credit overlord of our industry, Thea Dudley. And today, for the first episode of LBM Talks Social Media, I have a very special guest, and his name is Rick Schumacher. Hello, Rick. Welcome.
Thanks, Sally.
So, Rick, maybe most of the people that are listening know who you are, but for those that do not, could you please introduce yourself, introduce what you do, and how you're related to the LBM industry?
Sure, happy to. So I'm Rick Schumacher, and I'm the executive editor and founder of LBM Journal. And I've been doing this, covering the LBM industry since 1990, and with LBM Journal since 2003.
So what is LBM Journal?
LBM Journal, it stands for Lumber and Building Material Journal. So we reach the largest audience of LBM dealers, lumber and building material dealers in the country. And the goal of LBM Journal is to help our audience run their businesses better and smarter. And with social media, the goal is to just kind of build the LBM community. So, and that's the thing. That's something that I'm pretty passionate about. So the magazine helps people understand, but it's a vehicle where we communicate to the audience. But with social media, we communicate with the audience. So it's very cool, and it's something where the audience can also communicate with each other. We're essentially creating like a big open space in the universe where we can all connect and talk and get to know each other and share ideas and share ways of doing things better and smarter and just building community.
I love that. I've heard you are big on the LBM community. You've been saying that since I started working for you guys. And I haven't heard you explain it like that, as the website is, the space for the information, and then social media and also the conference are places that the LBM community gathers to be resources to one another. So that's awesome.
Yeah, and the LBM community it's very strong, but it's also really fragmented. And because a lot of it is, there's lumber dealers, and they'll be in their community, and they'll know their community, and they'll know each other and their customers, but they don't. But that's it. That's where it ends. So with the LBM Strategies Conference, the big goal with that was to do it and bring people together in person, and that is just, magic happens at LBM Strategies when dealers get together and share. They learn from each other. We survey people after the conference and ask them what they got out of it, and if they went home with new people that they're going to follow up with, new people in their network, and if they came home with new ideas that they can implement in their companies, and if they came home with new vendors that they can talk to and might be the next big thing in their market, and there are these things wouldn't happen if they didn't take time from their business and travel and spend 2.5 days with other dealers.
Mm-hmm. For sure. I'm only about a year into the workforce, and I'm beginning to see how powerful a network can be. So definitely a valuable resource.
Mm-hmm. It really is. And now with social media, that's just, it's kind of taken the next step. But because attending a conference is something that, between 200 and 250 people typically attend the conference, but there's thousands of LBM dealers in the country. So with social media, that removes the boundaries, or it's a lot lower barrier to entry because everybody has a smartphone and a computer, and social media is free.
Definitely. And that is kind of next level social media when you can not only gather a group of people around your brand, but then have those people kind of in that community interact with each other. So,
right.
Yes.
And that brings us to the whole idea for this podcast, for LBM Talk Social Media, because there are so many dealers who are there's a lot of dealers who do great things on social media, and they're really creative, really clever, really fun, entertaining, and that community is growing. The community of dealers who really do a good job with social media, but for every one that does a good job with it, there's probably 100 that either don't know. It's kind of intimidating to them. It's like this is not they're good at selling lumber, but they're not good at social media. So my whole goal with this, the idea behind it, and now that you're here, Sally, and able to, we have the person who can pull this off because you speak social media much better than I do. But the goal is to have you interview lumber dealers who are doing a good job with it and just get them talking and sharing their experience with other dealers. What are the things, why did you start getting into social media? What's it doing for your business? What are some mistakes you made that you wish you'd never done? What are some things others should for sure do when they're getting into it? So it's for dealers to talk to dealers, and we're just kind of the facilitator.
I love that. And we're kind of just going on a roll right now, which is great. I had so many questions to ask you, but we're hitting most of them right now. But, it's a lot of the bigger companies that have a really strong presence on social media. And so for your point that there's 1 to 100 that are doing social media compared to those that are not, it's those smaller businesses that maybe have a tougher time figuring out what to do. And so it will be interesting to talk to some smaller businesses too. I have a couple in mind that are quite active, and hearing how it impacts them and how it impacts their presence in their community, because I think that's a big thing for those smaller businesses.
Right. I agree 100%. Yeah, I mean, LBM Journal itself is a small business. We have a big presence, but the number of people who put it out is really pretty surprisingly small. So for years, our social media was pretty limited. We were limited to doing essentially reposting articles, articles from our website.
You post daily news, and so you guys were just, sharing the link to your socials, right?
Right. Yeah, we were sharing content we'd already created. But then about a year ago.
About a year ago. Yep, I've been working here for about a year.
So we decided we really need, social media is getting to be a bigger and bigger part of our community and of our world. So we need to step up our social media game, and we need to find the right person to help us do that. And that's when we found you.
That's when you found me through a Facebook post.
Yeah, that's kind of a funny story too. So we talked to a couple of companies who are established social media companies with actual employees and offices and the whole, and we just couldn't find the right fit. And then one member of our team said that she remembered seeing a Facebook post from a young lady who was taking on new social media clients. And so we said, well, let's talk to her. And as it turned out, we didn't know it at the time, but we are really your first.
Second.
So, okay, we're your second client. But we started off thinking we didn't know what we didn't know. So we started off, we're going to do 10 hours a week. And I thought we were going to have to be coming to you with ideas and, here, do this and this and this, assigning you to do posts. And then you didn't need that. You just took off running.
I think that's something about social media, is that there are tactics and there are, best practices. And so once you know those, it was just a matter of getting to know LBM Journal so that I could, marry the two together. I could marry the content LBM Journal puts out, what LBM Journal does, with best practices on social media, and then we just kept going. So, yeah, I was really happy to get linked up with LBM Journal, and it's been It's been really great.
And we're glad you're here too. And I just want to throw this out there too, that, you started as, for other people who were thinking about building out their social media. I mean, we knew we needed to do something, but we didn't know what exactly. So we were planning on 10 hours a week, and that's what we budgeted. And then Sally came on board and had all these other ideas. So it's like, okay, well, would you have time to do 15 hours a week? The numbers just kind of kept climbing. And then after about, I don't know if it was about 6 months or so.
Yeah, it was about probably 6 months.
Yeah, that you were working 40 hours a week. So it's like full-time employee. So it's been, that really has surprised me, but it's, I look at the results. I look at what's happening. Like I look at the metrics with our, the size of our audience, our engagement with people engaging with our Facebook, our LinkedIn, our Instagram. And the numbers of they were going up just kind of naturally, but now they're just exploding because we're doing things. You're doing things that are fun and that are entertaining and engaging and getting them involved.
So Rick, you're an innovator. You're willing to try new things. And that's why you ended up hiring someone for this position, right? Not everybody is necessarily sold on social media.
So I'm at the very, very tail end of being a boomer. So I'm like one of the very last boomers. And so social media is not something that I'm native to. It's not something I grew up with. And it's something that I'm still figuring out. So it's something that I poo-pooed, for a long time. It's like, this is not, because, well, first of all, from a business standpoint, from a number cruncher standpoint, where's the ROI? Because you can't, it's really, really hard to, like for us, for LBM Journal, we're a media company, so our revenues come from advertising and sponsorships and those kind of things. So it's hard to directly tie those numbers to social media. And so that's why we didn't jump in with both feet when it was when social media really started to grow. The social media thing is, it's fun, but it's also, I'm seeing it more now as another vehicle to communicate. Especially so as a media company, everything that we put out is carefully curated and it goes through multiple rounds of editing and proofreading. And so by the time the magazine gets in people's hands, it's, there might be an occasional mistake now and then, an occasional typo, but it's pretty spot on. There's no mistakes. It's pretty perfect. And social media is like the opposite. That's the magazine without any editing, without any proofreading. And so that to me, it was daunting because I'm used to having nothing goes out under the LBM Journal name that's not perfect. So this was a stretch. Seeing it as not something where we're communicating to our audience, but where we're all communicating together. Through social media, people are seeing a different side to LBM Journal. They're seeing the people who put it together. They're seeing who we are and what we're about, which is kind of fun. And we've got an incredible team made up. There's so much talent on our little team that we punch way above our weight. And the more attention, the more people get to know who's behind the scenes making LBM Journal happen is fun. And it makes me proud because I'm proud of the people I work with. And I'm really fortunate to be able to work with them. So this shows an authentic side of who we really are.
I think so too. So about a month ago, Rick, I get a phone call and he tells me that he has an idea and that he wants to start a new podcast segment about social media and that he wanted me to host it. So Rick, can you share with us a little bit about how this idea came to you and kind of what your intention behind LBM Talks social media is?
Well, first of all, when I did bring up that idea, you liked the idea of creating content, but you didn't love the idea of hosting a podcast. I thought that was interesting, but I'm glad that you've come around to it because, and the idea behind it was just a growing number of dealers want to get involved with social media. They don't know how to start. They don't know where to start. So the best place to start, I thought, would be to hear from other dealers who are doing it. and you're the right person to find the. I mean, because you follow these dealers, you find them, you engage with them. So it was like you were the perfect person to reach out to them and have conversations about their social media. How did they get started? Just all the questions that these dealers are thinking or might be thinking, but they're not sure where to get started. So it's just to do it as a resource. It's to build the community and for us to be a resource.
Definitely. So that's kind of what you're going to get for LBM Talk social media is me just having conversations with LBM dealers and getting kind of the inside scoop about what they're doing, how they're doing it, and essentially information about how you guys can do it too. That kind of wraps up this very first episode of LBM Talks social media. I'm really grateful that Rick, that you joined me on this first episode. And I'm excited to host this podcast for us.
Well, you're going to do a great job, Sally. I'm excited that you agreed to do it.
If you're listening to this podcast on Spotify, you can follow us so that you get notifications of new episodes. If you're on Apple Podcasts, you can also follow us. And I'm going to be starting out posting the first Thursday of every month. So you can expect new episodes then. And, if it's a hit, we will up the frequency. Thank you guys all for listening, and we'll talk to you later.